we're live. And so we're now live here. Oh, you can sign into so you can actually sign into chat.
Okay.
Oh, here we
Yeah.
are. We've just come on live.
Yeah.
Sure enough.
Yeah, we are live. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Live chat. All right. It
Welcome to
works.
our hundreds of admirers who want to listen to what we have to say.
It's a learning process. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
So anyway,
Yeah, but you fixed it.
so
Great
thank you for
job.
joining me,
Yeah.
Astrid.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for
So
joining
you're
me.
welcome.
And
Yeah.
now you and I, we don't eat the same. We have different diets, from what I've heard. We've
Mm-hmm.
never actually explored this between you and I.
No.
I think I've said to
No.
you once you need to eat meat, but we've never gone anywhere else on that score. Perhaps you
Yeah.
could begin by sharing what you eat and why you eat it.
I find this a very interesting topic because there are so many opinions and um, I just follow my own gut, and when my body says it's not okay, I don't, and sometimes I do. I have to be honest. Um, I what do I have to say? I do now eat meat once a week, 100 grams as you advised, and my body responds well on that. And yeah, I just go with what I think I would like to have and buy that. And in some ways it might be healthy, in other ways maybe not. But yeah, I find it difficult. Let's say that, and I just eat what I feel I want to eat. And in others' opinion, this might be yeah, they might say from you cannot eat that or you cannot eat that, but yeah, I just follow my own path in
We
that.
can eat whatever we
So
like, really.
yeah.
We can eat whatever we like. That isn't really the issue. The issue is
Hmm.
where, when I eat something, where does that come from? For example,
Hmm.
uh, I used to love eating custard tarts, custard cakes. Now, if I said to you, well, I just follow my guts, well, am I really following my guts when I go for the custard tarts? Or is there some deeper reason? Well, in
Hmm.
my case, in hindsight, uh, I believe that it's an emotional neediness within me,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
began when I first came to the UK. I was 11 years old, and I discovered apple pie and custard, and I've loved it ever
Hmm.
since. Okay, so in my case, I see it as an emotional response, some means of
Yeah.
nurturing my emotions in some way. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean to say it's healthy, but there's a neediness within me, and then the custard tarts, they're never quite satisfied. I mean, I don't do it anymore, but they're never really quite satisfied. Whenever I traveled, I would always buy a few. I did
Hmm.
4 or 5
Yeah.
as I was traveling my
Yeah.
journey. But really, all I had in my mouth was the taste of sweetness, the sugar addiction.
Hmm.
So I'm a little bit of suspect. I'm a little bit suspect on as to why we choose what we choose to eat,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we are so indoctrinated and the bombardment of you should eat this for this or you should have that for that, it's so pervasive in our society that what is really coming from our guts and what is coming from an
Yeah.
emotional neediness or what is coming from an addiction to sugar, for example. It could be
Yeah.
addiction to other substances.
Yeah.
Um, where does that impulse come from? And that I'm not so sure that we are connected to, unless we happen to be pregnant. When I say we, is the royal we, referring to women, of course. Um, um, and it's been my experience that when women are pregnant, when they fancy something, it really is what they need. It's
Hmm.
not a mental thing or an emotional thing. It's like, yeah, I need to eat this.
The
There is
hormonal.
something in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's something they need. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's my issue with that. Um,
Yeah. I do recognize myself in emotional eating. Yeah. Sure. Of course. Yes, I do. And sometimes I still do. And some moments I'm quite good in letting that go and not going into that. And there are moments I do that also. Yeah. 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 So maybe when I'm what I avoid shopping when, for example, I am hungry, then I buy other things than when I'm not, and sometimes I avoid buying things when not having it here. I don't have the how do I say it? I don't have the need to eat it, but when I have it in in my home, in my house, and I know it's there, I definitely want that. And so I avoid buying things and having them here, only to do not distract
sure.
myself to go to that kind of food. So yeah,
And that's a good rule of thumb, which I learned a long
yeah,
time ago. Never go shopping when you're hungry.
yeah. But
Especially if you have an addictive personality and you're already hooked to sugar and things like that. Because if you go shopping when you're
mm,
hungry, you're going to buy all the wrong foods. What is the wrong food? Well,
yeah,
that's something to be discussed.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. And in my opinion about the food topic, there's just such a variety of what people preach and what they live at and think it's the best. And in my opinion, I think we have to stay true to ourselves, and if it's needed to change, we will be triggered to change in whatever way. There are people swearing about no not being a carnivore because that's killing animals, blah blah. You know what? But there are people who living on as vegetarian, which
No,
for
they're
me,
not. That's a
I
myth.
can
I've
even
never seen
imagine.
one. I've
Sorry.
never seen one. I have never seen someone living on bread. I've heard about them, but I've never seen one. Okay,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
this is a myth. There's so many myths out there, and this is one of them. There are people who've claimed to do it, and then they've been found to be eating bits on the side, and actually they don't live very long. The ones who
I don't
truly go
know.
for it, because
I don't
you
know.
don't know.
I no. I don't know, Sel, because don't have. I don't know if it's true or not what they are presenting to the world, but and that's they share that about um, going higher in their vibrations, not being able to eat. You know,
Well, a lot of Codswallop. That's the
sorry.
biggest Codswallop. that is a total cod swallow. Cod swallow is something to do with fish, flaying fish, or I don't know. It's a phrase, it's an English phrase, cod swallow. It means total nonsense. Okay. I appreciate that you're a little bit partial to that, but this is total, complete, and utter nonsense.
No, I'm not
Um,
partial to that, but that's what I'm aware of what's happening. So that's what it makes such a divided topic, because there is so many opinions about the food topic and what's healthy and what's not healthy. There are so many variations in that,
yeah,
that
I agree.
and I can't even have an opinion, because I'm not an expert in this.
Okay,
I just notice what's in the field, and how people present themselves in the way they live, and they take their food. So yeah.
okay. So let's begin. As you said, there's a myriad of opinions, and there are. There never used to be.
Hmm.
Okay, 150 years ago, 200 years ago, there was not a myriad of opinions, but now there are. We live in very confusing times, and there are people who want us to be confused. So, and you say I'm not an expert,
Hmm.
but let's talk in a practical way about common sense. Let's use common sense.
Hmm.
Yeah. So common sense is, and you don't need to be an expert, but common sense is you've got a stomach, and you know the stomach creates acid. Everybody knows that, right? Because if
Hmm.
you eat too much sugar, you're going to get acid coming out of your mouth, especially if you mix it with some other foods like meats. Um, so the stomach is designed to release acid, which breaks protein down into its amino acid constituents. And we know that the body needs amino acids to regenerate. So the acid is not there for the vegetables, it's not there for the fat, it's not there for the sugar, it's only there for the meat, for the protein.
Hmm.
And we've got some animals like snakes where they export their acid. So they bite into you, their acid goes into your body, and it breaks, liquefies your muscles into the amino acids for them to digest. So instead of a stomach, they export their digestion into the person or
Hmm.
animal, right? Whatever it is. So that's what the stomach is for. It's not there for any other reason. So then we have a duodenum, which itself has got the connection from the pancreatic juice, and the bile from the what do you call it, gallbladder. And between the two of them, they break down the fats so that they become small enough so they can pass through the small intestine epithelial cells into the blood or into the lymphatic system. Excuse me. So straight away, we know that our bodies, without going any further, we know that our bodies are designed to eat meat and to eat fat. Our muscles are all made out of protein, meat, and our brains are more than 75% made out of fat. The nervous system is surrounded by a myelin sheath, which is made out of fat. The hormonal system is made out of fat. So, as essential building blocks.
Hmm.
So we know that we forget about what we other people tell us. just the basics of science is that we have a
Mm.
stomach to break protein, a duodenum where we break down fats. We know that straight away. And we know that our brains are made that way. Now, before I proceed further down the body, let's go to a cow.
Mm.
A cow eats grass and other bits that it can find around, but essentially it contains a means of breaking these grasses down, and especially the fibers, which goes into a special chamber, a cecum, where bacteria will ferment those fibers. And out of those fibers, that fermentation, you will get the amino acids and what's the other one? The fatty acids. Because the cow needs exactly the same as we do. They've got a fatty
Mm.
brain and they've got big muscular bodies. And all they have is grass to eat. But they function by breaking down the fiber with bacteria. They break it down. And out of that, they get the materials they need to have a muscular body and a functioning brain. Now, we are not cows.
Mm.
So our stomach is different from a cow. Our stomach is designed to break the protein down. We are designed to break the fat down. They don't need fat, they create fat from the fiber. You say, well, we can eat the vegetables as well. Why don't we eat the vegetables? Okay. But the
Yeah.
problem is our small intestine, which is, 20, 25 feet long, just undulates. It's very thin. It's only about an inch or so in thickness. And it's designed to reabsorb the protein and the fat. You say, well, our small intestine could break, we've got bacteria in the small intestine. We could use it to ferment, because that's the only way you can eat the fiber. You have to ferment it. Except we are not able to ferment the cellulose in the small intestine. We can ferment some of the cellulose in say, fruit, a little bit, tiny bits, and things like lettuce, perhaps. There's a few fibers in some vegetables which are not very strong. I say, well, yeah, but we can cook them. All right, so you can cook it, but we've been here for millions of years. Have they always been cooking their vegetables? We've only invented vegetables 500 years ago, as
Yeah.
we know them today.
But
Yeah, so we're not.
about but did we from the beginning eat meat, or was it only the survivor thing when there were no vegetables to eat? So
Well, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Vegetables are a new invention.
Mother
We
Nature,
the vegetables the
but Mother
vegetables that we
Nature had
know.
for I don't know, but Mother Nature create also food for us, other than what we are now creating in our society and our time, which is more uh, um, created by human
That's not
interference.
accurate.
But
Yeah.
Mother Nature created also food, which and berries and all kinds of stuff which people were able to digest.
Okay. So you've simplified it. First of all, root vegetables, Mother Nature, we have created root vegetables to extract sugar from them. Mother Nature doesn't do that by itself. It only needs very little. But we have been genetically modifying foods for 500 years
Mhm.
to create root vegetables and fruit, which has got a very high fructose and sugar content. Mother Nature doesn't do that. Crab apples 500 years ago, which is the precursor to modern apples, they were tiny little bitter things. They still exist today.
Mhm.
But we have we have we have created. This is new. We
I
haven't been
know.
around just 500 years. So human beings could not survive on a few berries the whole year around. It's not possible. And berries, by and large, are quite bitter because the amount of sugar necessary is very small. The only thing that contains a lot of sugar is bees, yeah, honey. And, you know, we have had to cultivate bees and manage them to get that amount of honey from them, of sugar from them. In nature, it doesn't exist in that way. You know, people would have to
Mm.
go and climb a tree somewhere, risk life and limb, and have a whole bit of honey, and they would consume it all within a few days between the lot of them. And that was that, gone.
Mm.
What do they eat the rest of the time? The weather is changing constantly, right? So there's different. What human beings have done is cultivate grasses. So grasses is the one item that we have cultivated as seeds, as a staple diet to keep us going through famines, through changes of the weather. But that is a relatively new invention in humanity.
But
But
it's
let's
also
come back.
it's also corrupting the food process of Mother Earth. We want to eat food which is not available in the winter period, and we create it so it is available. So we, by doing that, we destroy out the whole food circulation, which we are meant to. I don't know how to say it, but you
No,
know what?
you're right. You're right. We're doing that, but we're jumping ahead a little bit because we're only coming to the small intestine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the small intestine is not really designed. We're not cows. We're not designed to break the fiber down. We're not cows. We're not horses. We're not goats. We're not herbivores. Our stomach, digestive system is completely different. But we did used to have a cecum. We had an area to ferment the fiber, and it's the appendix. The appendix is the remnant. Gorillas, um, sort of the ape family. If you look at them, you see they've got big bellies. They're not big bellies because they're fat. They're big bellies because they've got a cecum where they're actually breaking down the fiber. They will go and eat a few ants and a few bits of meat now and then, but by and large, they're vegetarian to a great extent, and they've got the big bellies because they are fermenting the food. Our small intestine is not designed to ferment the food.
Mm.
If you look at the digestion of a horse, they've got a huge, large intestine where a lot of fermentation is taking place. It takes a large part of their stomach area, and we're not built like that. So the small intestine, like I said, is very long, very thin. And if you eat sugars or fibers and they begin a fermentation process, you're going to start creating methane. And that methane is going to get stuck inside you. And I will show some pictures later on, not whilst we're doing it live, but I will add them later, where you can see the distortion in the small intestine as a result
Mm-hmm.
of what people call Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndromes, because they're eating things they shouldn't, i.e., fiber. We should not be eating fiber, but we do. And the small intestine is not designed for that. So it creates twist and distortion because the methane builds up inside. Occasionally it gets stuck, you get bends. And so there's a huge level of confusion as to, well, eating vegetables, but a lot of people eat vegetables. Do you know colonic irrigation? it's over the last 30, 40, 50 years, it's grown. People have begun to dedicate themselves to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
isn't it also because of all the destroying methods of creating our food, which caused that?
Um, you'd have to say more. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that.
The chemicals and all the stuff which are used to produce our food those these days
Okay.
is.
Well, chemicals are not going to create a blockage in your small intestine or your large intestine. Um, the chemicals will be absorbed through the epithelial cells of your small intestine into your body, and they'll create internal damage, but it won't block the tube. You know, the tube is a straight tube, it goes one way in and out.
Mhm,
The only thing that can block the tube is roughage,
mhm,
because when people eat roughage, you know, when I used to eat roughage, I would go to the toilet 3 times a day, full stools every time. That's a huge amount to go through the body. And if it doesn't flow straight out, roughage is the equivalent of sawdust. As it goes through your body, um, you you cannot break it down.
mhm,
People say it's good for you, but if you cannot break it down, it has to go out of your body. So it goes. And when it goes into your large intestine is designed to reabsorb the salts from your stomach. So as part of your digestion process, your body is generating all these things, all these sort of fluids which contain salts. And when it goes to the large intestine reabsorbs that, and it will reabsorb fluids. You know, it's its job, it's what it's there for.
mhm,
So if you eat roughage and the roughage is going through your large intestine, any liquid in that in that roughage will get absorbed into the body. So what comes out, if it comes out, is very dry stools,
mhm,
and they are compacted. And that's where the problem arises. When people go for colonics, it's because they feel compacted and blocked and whatnot. And if you listen to some of these surgeons who speak about all the women going into surgery, whatnot, sometimes they've got compacted colons, and it has to be done by hand to take all that roughage out of the colon, which is killing them, is blocking them. Well, I can assure you that if all you eat is meat and fat, there is no compaction and there's no reabsorption, because the only thing that comes out of the other end is dead cells and a bit of fat around them. It's like a Vaseline torpedo going outwards. There's nothing to hold it back. So there is no possibility of blockages.
mhm,
And if you don't eat roughage, then there or sugar, there is no methane. The the breakdown of fat in the body only generates carbon dioxide and water. Yeah.
mhm, mhm,
So any flatulence that may occur is not smelly. It's carbon dioxide. That's all that comes out, carbon dioxide and water. When people have smelly farts, it's because they're eating vegetables and they're eating sugar. That is the only reason. And they're always farting away. You know, my mother suffered from it. I suffered from it. And I assure you
mhm,
that it gets a bit personal, but I'll just stand up and show you that if you look at me now, I am I am relatively a slim person. I don't really have any
Mhm.
fat. But if you look at me, you can see that I'm actually quite chunky. And that
Mhm.
chunkiness is not fat. This is distended intestines, small and large, even on the sides, from having eaten so many vegetables, so much roughage, so much sugar for so many years that my intestines, small and large, became distended because our digestive system is not like a cow's or a horse. The muscles are thin. Our small intestine has got a small, thin muscle. It's made that way because we want to absorb the food through it.
Mhm.
We, the large intestine, if a person goes for an operation, they have to be very, very careful if they cut in the abdominal area, not to cut into the large intestine, peritonitis, internal infections, because the walls are thin.
Mhm.
Because the large intestine in a human being is not designed for fiber. It's not designed to hold all this large volume. It's not designed to build up with um, with gases. We're not made that way. So I'm not talking about any belief system. I'm purely talking to you. I'm sharing with you
Yes,
and with
about
anyone who might be listening the structure of the body, how the body
mm,
is made.
yeah,
So, so this is the basis of the body. This is how it's made. It is designed. It used to be. It used to be vegetarian, but we're going back 500 million years. Today, whilst we still have bits of it in us, in the way our teeth are made, the little bit of the appendix, we're no longer designed to eat what is now to us poison. I, for us to eat vegetables, for us to eat sugar, that's poison. In fact, if we continue with the science, the body can only cope with a level of sugar between 6 and 7% uh, in the blood.
mhm,
So
yeah,
if you've got more than 7% of sugar saturation in the blood, your your pancreas will release insulin to mop it up and get rid of it. It's a poison. The body cannot cope with sugar. It is a poison.
yeah,
So all it can do with it is try to get rid of it. So how does it do it? It tries to get rid of the sugar by using the insulin to force the sugar into the cells.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not taking the sugar into the cells so that you can use it for burning, as people think. It's forcing it there to get rid of it. It has no other means of getting rid of the sugar. So it
mm,
forces sugar into the cells. But a day comes, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, when the cells say, I can't take any more sugar.
yeah,
No. And then we say, oh, that person is now insulin resistant. They're resisting the insulin driving the sugar into the cells. And then we say, oh, you're type 2 diabetic.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
About the sugar thing, there's no one talking different about that. Everyone says sugar is just no good for anybody. But about the carnivore, the vegetable, whatever, there there's so
Okay.
there's
What you
this
said isn't quite accurate. What you said isn't accurate. One jacket potato contains about 10 teaspoonfuls of sugar. One slice of bread contains about 2 teaspoonfuls of sugar. Sugar isn't just sugar. Sugar is in the foods that people eat.
Mhm.
It is the diet. The Western diet is a sugar diet. If a person says, I am vegetarian, it's not just the vegetables, it's the high glycemic sugar in the vegetables and fruits that they consume. You see, where the fruits that exist today, they were not around in the way they are today 500 years ago,
Yeah.
600, 700, doesn't matter. They didn't
Mm.
exist. There is one item, though, which people have consistently eaten for the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7,000 years, maybe a bit more. And this is the seed from grasses in the form of rice and cereal. What do you call it? To make bread, rye, barley, and they learn how to turn that into flour, and they created bread out of that, and it became a staple, especially for poor people, but even for rich people. But that was the alternative when there wasn't any meat to be had. Um, and when people move into big cities, it is harder to find the meat. It's easier to find the meat when you're out in the countryside, but people used to be nomads, they used to travel. But when people settled down and what they were growing was the crop of rye and bread. And that has sustained mankind, but there has been a price for that. I've read letters from the American Indians, and there's a particular poignant one sent by a chief of a tribe to the big white king of the Americans, whoever the president was at the time. And this guy says, our elders used to live to 150 years. Or, they used to count the seasons in their own way. And so we'll assume they were able to count that. He says, but then the French came, and they came with their brandies and their cheeses and their brioche, their breads. And gradually over the generations, we saw our elders dying younger and younger. He says, we're lucky to live to, I'm paraphrasing, we're lucky to live to 100, 120. So there was a recognition that the foreign food that came from Europe was poison to them. It was damaging their health.
But what about the change in people getting older and eating the wrong food now? Because there is in years ago people reached the age at 60, 65, probably 70. Now people get older and older. Sometimes they reach an age of 100. If what about that? Sorry.
People have always been able to live longer. However, the median age during Roman times was around 60 years old, the average death. They were short people. They relied on Egyptian bread, the flour, the seeds to create bread, and that was a staple for them. So someone would go into the army, they would be in the army for say 20 years if they survived. They would then get a place to go and live in, and if they were lucky, they'd survive another 20 years. 60 years, goodbye. Okay, so most people did tend to die early. They have done sonar imaging on the Egyptian cadavers which have survived, what you call them, the mummies, and out of 152 of them, all of them had deceased cardiovascular systems, atherosclerosis, damaged hearts, um, and the median age in Egypt from those mummies were for the poorer people, not poor because they were embalmed, so that, therefore they were sort of middle of the road. They would live to about 35 years old, whereas the richer ones, the ones who had more expensive coffins, they lived to about 45. So surviving on bread killed people very early. The
Mm-hmm.
Romans lived a bit longer, so they were mixing their breads with their meats. Um, we do hear of people in the Middle Ages who lived to about 80. Isaac Newton, for example, was around 80, 85. There's a few others who lived, but they were the wealthy people who had access to what, all the meats, whatever. They were not poor. They were not destitute. They could keep away from when they were, when there was Black Death or where anything else going wrong, they could go away to their estates. Um, so there's always been people who could survive longer. However, what separates the American Indians in those days is they used to live on meat. They used to survive on bison, and they would chop it up, dry it, keep them going through the winter. They would find a few roots, they would find a few bits and bobs here and there, but essentially their diet was meat and fat. Um, so if I'm going to put their longevity down to anything, I'm going to say it's their meat and fat. Um, One of my daughters has just been away in Vietnam and other places like that. The people there are pretty small. They're small people. Um, they have some meat, but they're predominantly rice. A little bit of meat, a lot of fish, a few birds, but predominantly is rice and vegetables. Short and stature. Um, Children these days are getting taller again.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue that there is more meat in the diet for some of them. I don't know what the truth of that is, but I'm sure there are genetics involved. The truth is that that what we eat affects us. We can't avoid it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and we need meat. We need protein. We need protein. So how are we going to get the protein? If we don't get it from red meat, we're going to have to get it from fish, eggs, birds, and if we don't want to eat any of that, then we're going to have to rely on vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
There are no vegetables in the UK which contain all the proteins that the body needs. You can get quinoa, for example, which contains a good complement of proteins, but you have to get it from South America. I think now in Spain they're growing it because it's become a huge market. But it doesn't exist in every country. It's only certain places you can get it from. So you need money. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
need money for anything these days. You can't avoid it. But what I'm saying is that you have to go out of your way to eat healthily if you want to avoid eating meat. And you really have to go out of your way. And you have to be very disciplined. And I haven't met many disciplined vegetarians. Most of them end up eating breads and cakes and sugary stuff. Um, so yes, people do. If you don't want to eat the way your body's made, because the body is made to eat meat, I don't think anyone could argue with the science of what I have just described as to how we are, how the body functions.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly we can eat we can eat vegetables and we can eat sugary stuff, and of course we'll survive, but one day we'll be in trouble. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if you want
I
to eat
wonder.
vegetarian, you can do so.
Yeah, what I wonder, Sel, and uh, um, I was familiar with eating in a kind of way, in such a pattern which I was used and was okay with. And at some point, I noticed, and I didn't wasn't even consciously doing that, that my need for food and things changed. The way in some more light food than the dense food, and there was just this change, and I didn't. Uh, um, it changed, and I don't know why, but it changed. And some things I liked, I didn't like after, and I cannot even explain why it is that my body asks for different food, and but it's happening. And then I go back to what I mentioned in the beginning. Isn't that because of there's a change going on, and more um, is affecting your body, and so also
Maybe.
your needs in what to eat.
Well, you say things, but they're very generalized, so I cannot really put my finger on what you're actually saying. You would have to be more clear in your description, because a lot of the foods that are available in our culture, the pure addiction, they're addictive. So, you know, a packet of crisps is designed to be very moreish. You know, one packet, two packets, three cup packets. I've known people who are addicted to cheese and they can't stop eating it, and yet
Mhm.
they're coming up in rushes on their hands. The skin's breaking up, psoriasis, but they don't make the connection. Other people, they come up in spots because they eat chocolate. Yeah. Um, if you say, "Oh, I need a coffee," well, what sort of what are you talking about? Is that your body telling you what you need, or is that the fact that you've damaged the balance with your adrenals, and now you have a shortfall, and you think you need the coffee, but really you're just trying to make up for what you've already taken away.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's not an easy picture. This is why I like to keep it simple. The simplicity is, how are we designed to eat? Forget what I believe. What am I designed to eat? And if I eat what I'm designed to eat, will my body function? See, a lot of a lot of our culture revolves around food. A lot of our interactions revolve around food.
Mhm.
Family times, meetings, business, whatever, people come together. Oh, yes, we talk about whatever we're going to talk about whilst we're having food. Because you never do. You never have a serious conversation around food. You never have deep philosophical discussions around food. You talk about meaningless little somethings whilst you're indulging your addiction. That's all that people do. I used to do that when I was smoking. There was nothing better than going to smoke outside with someone else, and we're both smoking together. Misery loves company, but that's what we do. And I
Mhm.
see it in people. I mean, I see it. People come together to eat, but what I see is they're coming together, and there's the glass of wine, right? And there's the food. But it's not really about the engaging in communicating with others. It's about the I am indulging my addictions, and I love to have company to feel normal. I want to be normal as I am indulging my addiction, and this is how I'm doing it. So we're all sharing this addiction together, and we start our children young by giving them sugar. So we begin the addictive process very early on.
Mm.
And once you're there, it never ends. And it's so impossible to come off. We would sort of create a big table for people to have a meal. People have a big meal. Then there's all the leftovers. An hour later, people come back to have seconds, maybe thirds, because it never really quite satisfies. You need more. You always need more.
Mm.
I used to get up at 11 o'clock at night to go and eat a sandwich. I was ravenous because I was sugar short, because the addiction was playing havoc with my hormonal system.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what is the truth? The truth is, my stomach is designed to break protein, my duodenum is designed to break fat.
Mm.
And you can only eat so much, and then you don't want any more. I tell you, you eat some fat, you can only eat so much, and then you're totally full out. No thanks, I don't want any more. And you really don't want any more. There's no coming back 2 hours later to, oh, just have a little bit more because I'm peckish. No, you're not peckish. You're full, you're full. It's totally different. It's a totally different way of being. But that isn't the way people are. And so we've got all these belief systems about food eating. You know, you talk about the breatharians, allegedly,
Yeah.
because they don't exist, not for long. You talk about the vegans, they don't exist, not for that very long.
I don't know,
Uh,
still, but hearing something like a Breatharian speaking about their choice of life, and years after they still are, and they radiating such a healthy energy while living that life. I don't know. I'm not a witness of if they truly do or not, but
it's hearsay.
that's what makes
What
it
you're
so
describing is
complex.
what
Because,
you're describing is pure hearsay. You're describing hearsay, okay? And you get someone, put them in a cell, keep them there for 100 days, give them water, come back in 100 days, okay? Then I'll believe that. And
mm,
give them a window, a glass window, so that no one can throw any food from outside. Uh, and make sure that there are no holes so they start eating the cockroaches or the mice. The reality of a human body, stay focused on the simplicity. If you stop eating any food for 3 days, you begin to break down protein in your body to create sugar, because the body insists on having between 6 and 7% of sugar in the blood. You don't need to eat sugar
mm,
to have blood to have sugar in your blood. Your body will break protein down in the liver to give you the the carbohydrate that your body, the glucose that your body needs. So if you stop eating for 3 days, you begin to eat into your muscles. It doesn't matter how much fat you've got. You start to eat into the muscle. You'll still consume the fat. The fat will go down quite quickly. And to begin with, people, if they stop eating, they wee a lot of water, because when you burn fat, half of that fat is water. So people wee a lot. They lose a lot of weight the first day or two, but most of that is water. And from the third day on, is downhill all the way. because your body will begin to consume itself. Now, someone says to me, yeah, but I am really spiritual. I can connect beyond this dimension with a vibrational intensity that supersedes reality as we know it. And out of that, out of an organ which doesn't exist for you, but which is in me, I can now convert that into my essential ingredients, into amino acids and fatty acids. Because without those, my body will degenerate. It's inevitable because we are machines. Our physical bodies are machines. You can't get around that one. There's no way around that. Our physical bodies are machines. We've grown up. I mean, you can see it. I mean, I used to look really young. Now I look at myself like, gosh, where's that young guy who had a little bit of hair on his head? He's gone. And it's happened fractionally day by day. Okay? We cannot avoid the subdivision of the cells in our bodies, the cleaning that goes on constantly in our bodies. You still there, or have you frozen? Oh,
Yeah,
you've gone back.
I'm still here. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So breatharian is total bullshit. It's total nonsense. And if someone says, I do this, I say, fine, prove it to the rest of the world. Go into this box and stay there for 100 days. We'll make sure you get water. That's it.
yeah. But she drinks water. It's maybe you can do a chat with her and go in discussion
I
about.
don't need I don't need to check with her because all I'm going to hear is what she says. I want the proof. The proof is in the pudding. Okay, we live in a third dimensional universe of cause and effect. Everything affects everything else. If she can do this and she's here to enlighten the rest of us, show us the proof.
Yeah, it's as I understood, it's about aligning and the higher, and that's what I mentioned also in the beginning, the higher the frequency, which is changing here because of the connection there.
Yeah,
There's
all that's woo woo. All that
what.
is totally woo woo. Out in the cloud. What they used to call it space cadet, the space cadet mentality, out in outer space. Here on this earth, we have a physical body and it has physical needs, but not just for the meat and the fat. We need essential nutrients. Our bodies are constantly regenerating and they require essential nutrients. Now, let's take it to your level of vibration. Now, I've always wanted to be that person. Always. Since the year dot. I I began playing with being a vegan when I was in my early 20s. And then I was a vegetarian for 20 odd years. I nearly destroyed myself in the process. It's made me very sick. I'm still recuperating from all of that. The damage it caused in my body is incredible. I'm still recuperating from that. I spent years playing with energies and healing, and I've done all of that. And now today, I have a connection with the spirit world in a way that few people have. And I'm a carnivore.
Mhm,
How can you reconcile the higher vibration with me just eating meat and fat as I do?
mhm, mhm.
And I've never been more psychic in my life. I've always wanted to be psychic the whole of my life. I wanted to be psychic. I'm psychic now. I'd like to see how psychic this woman is. who's
Mhm.
okay. There's a lot of talk. People talk. There's a lot of talk. We live in a fragmented world. There's a lot of confusion.
She does even retreats, vegetarian retreats in Spain. So I don't know.
What is it you don't know?
I don't know.
What is it you
It's,
don't?
you said something like um, she shares it, but she doesn't prove it to the world. But she gives even retreats where she invites people to stay there
That
for
isn't.
2 weeks. But
That
you don't
doesn't.
even.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. That doesn't make anybody 24 hours next to her. Okay? She hasn't got a shadow. Nobody knows what she does privately. All I'm saying, I mean, I'm not asking for much. I'm saying, look, if you're truly
You
that
have a point. It's
idea of a Godhead, prove it to the rest of us. You know, as menial human beings, ordinary, I'm just an ordinary being. Just prove it to us. Just get some scientists, make sure to touch, put some things to your heart and your mind to monitor your well-being. Go into a room, seal, lock the door. Oh, the only thing that gets in there is water. You can have as many videos as you like, as much distraction as you like, but nothing that is living. No tree, no leaves, no nothing that you could ingest. Okay. And
Mhm.
now show to the rest of the world how long you survive. And I will guarantee you that she does not survive longer than 30 days. Especially, she cannot be very plump. So she's already quite slim, I imagine. So I have no belief that she would survive 30 days without the need for serious intervention. She would begin to get heart problems. So this is why I say, hey, let's do it properly, put some monitors on you, but you are locked out of access to anything. But hey, that's not a problem because you're not of this world, right? You are beyond this world because that's what she's saying. She's saying, be a breatharian so you can rarefy your energy so you move beyond this world. So, what is she trying to do? What is she trying to do? She's going to go to spirit? Kill yourself, for God's sake. Let the rest of us have a life. Because all you're saying is, I don't want to be of this world. Be a breatharian so you're not contaminated. Bugger off. Nobody needs you in this world. Die now. Spare the rest of us your bollocks. Spare us, because that is not being a human being. That is trying to be something that you're not, something special. And I don't mind you being something special. What I mind is when you pick up other people and say, come and do this with me, and fuck your body up like I'm doing mine, assuming that she's doing it, because I am certain that in the background, you know what? I'm talking out of my head because we're coming towards the new. Is it a new moon or something? I don't know. No, we've
I
just
don't.
gone past that. But
Yeah.
let me just go into my. Let me just take a deep breath, because there are things that I I'm
Yeah.
so incessant about because
Yeah.
it's pure indoctrination. But maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. I'm a great skeptic. So
Hmm. Hmm.
okay, so I'm now engaging with Charlie because I just
Yeah.
admit, but I do have connection to something higher. So I'm engaging with Charlie,
Mm.
and the question um, is being a breatharian, i.e., surviving on sunlight or air, even possible? No, I say no straight away. For a human, is it possible for a human being? For any human being, is there a single human being on this earth that could survive more than, let's be generous, 2 weeks without creating any internal damage? simply by living on water? No. So why not? So if a person goes 2 weeks with just being on water, how are they damaging themselves? Through lack of nutrition. So there's a lack of nutrients. Okay, forget about forget about sort of proteins or fat. Just nutrients,
I
essential
lost the
nutrients. If
connection.
you miss
Sorry.
that, ah! Okay. A
Sorry.
human being that is so it's okay. A human being that is surviving purely on water for 2 weeks, they're already beginning to damage themselves because we need nutritions. We need essential things, for example, uh, iodine, magnesium, um, what's the other one? Selenium. There are certain things we actually need, and we need to top it up, however minuscule it is. We need little bits of that. And if we miss that, our cells begin to misfire, our hormonal system, we're not creating the hormones that we need as we need them. Um, and so our body begins to deteriorate. Was that right? Yeah. So that's accurate. Um, you would not be dead after 30 days necessarily, but you'd be pretty close. You'd be pretty close. Our human body is not designed for that. We're just not made that way. The soul, we have a soul in each of us. The soul is here to experience.
Mhm,
To
mhm.
experience means to get our hands dirty, to have relations with people, to experience all the difficulties that we experience in being an ordinary human being.
Yeah, yeah,
So trying to be beyond the world, you know,
yeah.
bugger
I
off.
know.
Do it now. Don't wait. Don't wait,
Yeah,
because that isn't what we're here for.
yeah,
Yeah. Anyway.
yeah. That makes
Uh,
sense.
okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
I like to discuss about this because it's this for me. It's a topic really because there's so it's so broad and so many
but
opinions and
you no, it's
statements.
good.
And sorry.
What you say is good. What you say is good, because there are people out there, space cadets, who believe all of this. They believe that meat is bad for us because it's a heavy vibration.
I'm also a space cadet,
So
so
I understand that. So we've so I'm hoping there'll be more than just you and me listening to this. So the so there's this pyramid. We're given this pyramid of vibrational foods, and meat is low, it's dense. Like killing something else to eat, that makes you really bad. Everything on this earth, everything in this universe relies on something else to grow. Everything, even a planet.
mhm, yeah, yeah. And what about the energy you give to it? We had it in the group, in a telecom group. Was at some point was it an interaction about energy and food? What about uh, giving that energy to that kind of food makes it also much complicated to digest because the energy it's given. So I think I don't know, but is that
Okay, so I've done it one test, and the test wasn't very good, and I'm doing it again. It wasn't very good because when I cooked the rice, I kept it on the lid, and then when I took the lid off, I put the rice into the jars, and then I closed the jars straight away. And so it took a long time for the fungal spores to begin to grow inside the rice. And in fact, the rice was breaking down. So on the bottom of the jars, the rice itself was breaking down and it was going yellow. Um, and it took about 10, 12 days for all of them to go uh, spored, like sort of go black and begin to change. But there was only one jar, which after 18 days was still whole. It hadn't, and I'll show you when I remake this, when I edit this, I'll add this. There was one jar which remained pristine, just about. There was just a little bit of yellow at the bottom, just a tiny, tiny bit. And you could really see the comparison, the difference between that jar and the rest. And the difference was that I put my healing hands on it and I sent my love to it. That's the only thing that separated that jar from the other jars,
Yeah.
that I had my hands around it every day. Um, so what that did was delay the breakdown. It was still breaking down, but it delayed it from the others. And we're talking about cooked rice. We're not talking about something that's alive. So it, but what I don't know, this is why I'm redoing the test, is whether was it just my hands or was it just coincidence that that last one didn't get a spore coming to it, so it never got itself black and brown like the others.
Yeah.
So I'm redoing it again. My wife's very excited. She's going there, sending her love.
Yeah.
And so I've got the same as before, but this time they've all been subjected to the same level of spores over a period of 24 hours. So now we will see there's a lot more spores, so the contamination should happen a lot quicker. And we should be able to see what is the truth of this. To what extent can we influence in terms of our love energy?
Yeah, but
Because it is not, I don't believe it's intention, okay? Intention is not sufficient because what we're talking about is a different vibration. And this vibration comes from.
if so many people put out that negative thought about, for example, eating meat, then this energy will go to the meat, and there is also this collective bubble of negativity about that. What is that not doing any influence in it? Because we
I
all
don't know.
energy to that specific.
Okay, I don't know that, but a lot of these people, I'm only guessing, but a lot of these people who are vegans, who are trying to eat like this, the chances are they haven't really resolved many of their emotional problems. And there's a bit of self dislike in there. Okay. So their psyche is going to be split, their personality is going to be split. And I don't think that these people are sending out their emotions, their negative emotions, to the cows. And
No.
they might send it to the abattoirs, but I don't think they're sort of devoting regular day in, day out. That is what they call black magic. Okay. A person who sits down and focuses on other being and focus on the negativity to affect them, that's called black magic.
No, but I don't think people aren't even aware of their negative uh, uh, thoughts about whatever subject, which then projected into the collective, and it doesn't have to do
Okay,
nothing
right.
with eat.
Let's hold on. Well, hold on a minute. Okay, so I'm going to ask Charlie. So there are. Okay. So first of all, Charlie does not believe that there are many vegans in the world. Is that right? Am I just making this up? So there are not as many vegans out there as many people think there are. But the few who are vegans, they're cultists and they're young people by and large. I mean, there are vegans who, I mean, I do know of a woman who was vegan. She was about 1995. I don't know how long she'd been vegan for, but she'd gone vegan. Many people go vegan for a few years later on in their lives thinking, oh, maybe I should go vegan. That's the way to go, okay? It doesn't mean to say they've been vegan all their lives. But according to Charlie, there are not that many vegans in the world. And I have encountered the odd one or two on Facebook and places like that. And they sound like cultists and they sound like totally indoctrinated mind jobs. And they're not talking from experience, they're not talking from wisdom, they're not talking from understanding of their bodies, they're talking from the emotional aspect. Oh, but I don't want to kill. Do you want to kill another animal? It's like killing a human being. You know, it's like murder. So it's all very emotive.
Mhm.
But these people, so is the collective emotional dimension generated by these people sufficient to affect the meat that is killed in the world on a day-to-day basis? No. Is it anywhere near? No. Even a fraction? No. And am I understand this correctly? Yes. Am I am I biased? No, again, I'm not biased. Um, so what you're saying is not. There are not enough of them who are focused enough on a daily basis. You know, meat is killed daily. I mean, they're killing millions of cows every day worldwide. You know, there's an awful lot of people who are meatarians. They're not carnivores per se, but a lot of people eat meat.
But what about the energy in the meat of the people, the animals who get so mistreated? What about that?
I agree that it's a problem.
Then this
It's not a
energy,
problem for me. It's not a problem for me.
you digest the energy of that meat, which is treated the way it is. The
No, no, let's no. Okay, let's not get too space cadetty about this.
okay,
When a cow is separated from its group, it's never killed straight away. It's then held somewhere and then it's transported to the abattoir. By the time the cows get to the abattoir, they can smell the death of other cows. So they're in a state of anxiety
yeah,
and their adrenaline is all over the place. Okay. If you kill a cow like that, the adrenaline goes into the muscles. That meat is not very tasty unless it's really cooked. I have eaten that meat. It was given to me once to try. And before cooking, in cutting it, it's horrible. It's sticky. It's quite dark. Um, it really doesn't feel nice to touch. The sensations are not nice. But if you cook it well, it goes really soft and it's tasty then. Personally, I don't like well cooked meat anyway. Um, the way that I treat my cows is that they're killed before they know what's happened. They don't know what's happened, okay? Poof, they're dead. And they're butchered and then they're partitioned and everything else is done. So it's totally organic. It's totally, the cow has no idea. My cows have a very, very good life.
yeah, that's much different than the most of the
Absolutely.
people who eating
Yeah.
meat.
Yeah.
Who,
Yeah.
so it's
So there's no awareness of the event. And but that is what happens, is their anxiety, the adrenaline, the hormonal anxiety that infuses the meat. And that is what makes it go not so nice. It's not the emotional. Well, actually, you know what? Let me check with Charlie.
okay. Yeah.
Uh, So Charlie disagrees
Okay.
that the meat is affected. So Charlie does agree. There you go. So, I'm not too proud to say when I'm wrong. Charlie does agree. However, of itself is not damaging to the human being that eats it. So there's a difference.
What about the energy in the meat of the animal? You digest the same energy in your system.
No, no,
No?
no. So their fear and anxiety goes into the meat.
Mm-hmm.
So that does happen. What you say is true. Um, but once it's killed, once it's dead, what happens to that energy? Does it dissipate? Does it infuse itself in? It doesn't remain in the meat. Now, I'm not condoning the way that they kill cows. Okay, I'm not condoning it because it is barbaric to have the animal suffer. So I'm not condoning that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are absolutely no ill effects. Oh, hold on a minute. Ooh, variation. There would be ill effect if I ate it.
Sorry, there would be ill
There
affected.
would be an ill effect to me if I ate it. So it would affect me. Oh, that's interesting.
Why?
So it depends on how it because unlike the breatharians, I do have a much higher connection energetically. My
So it does make
vibrational,
sense. So
yes, it
the energy
does.
frequency of your body does make sense.
No, no. Well, I don't
In
know
your
what you're
case,
saying.
it does. In your case, it
So
does.
let me explain. So in my case, my connection with my heart is like a huge thoroughfare. Yeah, my emotions and my heart, they're interconnected. There's no blockages. And so the connection from my soul, from my spirit, call it what you will, to through my heart to my emotions to my body, it's it's there.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were to eat that, that would rarefy my energy. It would not rarefy. It would make my energy denser. It would interfere with that connection that I presently have.
Mm.
Uh, but hold on, I would have to do this consistently for a month. Okay, it would have to be for a month before I would begin to feel that sort of loss of connection. But the average person, they're
Yeah.
already so dense that it
Yeah. Okay.
doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. Okay.
You
The
know?
average, but there are people who don't call themselves the average and say the same thing about their way of choosing their food, only in a different way. As you choose being carnivore because it fits in the way you see your body needs that to function here on this planet, and these other people have their own visions about what's good or for them in alignment with in which frequency they are.
No, what those people have is a belief. What
Okay.
I have is direct experience. I have direct experience of having done vegan, vegetarian, meat. I've worked my way through it all.
Mhm.
I've now been a carnivore for, I don't know, 6 years, maybe seven. I lose track. But I've been carnivore. And in spite of other people, I've spoken with there's a guy in a Telegram channel from India. He talks about the Vedas and he says, "Oh no, you have to this. If you eat meat for more than 5 years, your body breaks down." I've never been healthier. I've never been healthier. I
Hmm.
am healthier, more energized now than I was 10 years ago. I mean, there's so much disinformation and misinformation, and there's so many belief systems. Where do your beliefs come from? Believe nothing. Try it out for yourself. Experiment. Sorry.
Yeah.
The proof is in the pudding. The problem is, you know, we we have so little awareness of ourselves. We don't even know how our bodies work.
Yeah. That is.
You know,
Yeah.
people are,
Yeah.
are so ignorant of themselves. You think, oh, but you've been in school for so many years. There. What did I learn when I was in school? A bit of
Mm.
algebra, a little bit about geography. You know, I didn't learn about what mattered. What
Yeah.
mattered is how my body works, how my imagination works, how my emotions work, the the essentials of being a healthy human being, how money works, all the essentials. We're not taught that.
Yeah.
So now we've got all these people, and they're all trying to follow some sort of guru. Space cadet. Where's the nearest rocket? Let's go up. And they and they believe all these charlatans who they themselves believe it. God knows where they picked it up from, but they picked it
Yeah.
up from other charlatans.
The 100
And
monkey syndrome. Hmm.
yeah, they believe these things and they have no proof. All
I
they
am
have
the
is
one. I'm also
systems.
one of them. Sorry. I have to admit
I
I
know, I
that's why
know,
I like this conversation and sharing about this topic. Yeah.
absolutely. I'm well aware where you're coming from.
Yeah.
The problem is that all these people with these belief systems, they're infecting others before they themselves get so damaged that they die younger. And that's the problem. It's the nature of a virus. You catch a virus, begins to ferment within you, but you don't really get any symptoms.
Mm.
And you spread the virus, and then you get serious symptoms. Then you go down, and then you're trying to recuperate. But by then, you've already spread the symptoms to other people. So that is problematic. This whole viral idea of passing your beliefs to another person when you yourself are ignorant. You have no proof. You have nothing to base it on apart from the fact that you've been infected by someone else.
And you have to prove because you learned it yourself by having all these different experiences, and now you have the wisdom to share.
Absolutely. So this is
So
why I say, okay, don't go by what you believe. Learn about your body. How is your body created? Learn about your digestive system. What does my body need to generate my brain, to generate my nervous system, to generate my muscles? What does my body need? And from there, you can work out what your body actually needs to eat. Start from
but
what your body really needs.
does
What?
everybody, every human body needs the same, exactly the same for it?
Problem. Since the 1900s, we've been eating a lot of what do you call it? Let me just bring this up. So we've been eating a lot of seed oils, which is corrupting the epithelial cells of the body. And the epithelial cells of the body, they're everywhere. They're on our skin. They're in anything that connects with the outside world. They're in the vagina. They're in the anus. They're in the whole digestive system. They're around their ears. They're in the eyes, nostrils, everything to do with breathing. So a lot of the body contains epithelial cells. And most of the cancers today are in the epithelial cells. Something like 98% of cancers, I mean, talking out of my hat, but I'll bring out the figures, uh, they're to do with epithelial cell damage. And this is as a result of having the linoleic acid, which is the seed oils, which is vegetable oils, which is what people cook with all the time. And they've been doing this forever. Then we've got all these vegetables, which we've made sure they're filled with carbohydrate. So now we're filling ourselves with sugar, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're now giving ourselves all these breakfast cereals, which basically is just sawdust. So we're eating all this sawdust for breakfast because we've got to have a bowel motion, right? So you need a bit of fiber, right? Just to get a bowel motion. We have been damaging ourselves with chemical foods, fast foods, like you don't need to cook. You just go to the local supermarket and you buy ready-made foods. They contain preservatives, they contain calories, they contain all manner of things. They're all affecting our bodies. In America, 50% of the population is on some sort of medication or other, pharmaceutical medication. God knows what's in the UK. We are already damaged. We're damaged in so many ways. And now we say, oh, I need to change my diet. I've been eating the wrong foods. Okay, that's great. You need to change your diet. Just one little problem. Your body is probably filled with crystals from oxalic acid because you've done too much spinach, too much rhubarb, too many potatoes, too much sweet potatoes, too many almonds, and a whole lot of other foods because you thought it was healthy for you. And so you're covered with all of this. And if you stop eating it, that oxalic acid is just suddenly going to go into your bloodstream, is going to blend with the calcium, is going to blend with your vitamin B12, assuming you have any, is going to blend with your iron. It's just going to suck any minerals in your body. And if you're unlucky, which I don't know, I think it's about a quarter of the population, your kidneys are not going to be able to excrete those little bits of calcium and other mineral blended oxalic acid, and it's going to build into stones, and then it's going to damage your kidneys. So, no, it's not a good idea to just suddenly say, I'm going to go from vegetarian to carnivore. You might be lucky, but if you're not, you're going to damage your kidneys. So it needs to be done slowly, and you need to think about it. You can't just change your diet overnight because, for example, we need, when we eat vegetables, when we eat sugar, we need vitamin C. A carnivore does not need vitamin C. Herbivores generate, I don't know, about 12,000 milligrams of whatever of vitamin C in their bodies. I know that goats create about 13,000 every day. And so that vitamin C deals with the potential damage that comes from the oxalates, that comes from the foods that they're eating, the vegetables they're eating. Something else, for all I know. The human beings, if you eat vegetables, if you eat sugar, the sugar will insert, the sugar and the vitamin C are very similar structure, but your body will prefer the insulin will bind to the sugar, not the vitamin C, and so it drives the sugar into the cells, and when the vitamin C gets there, the cells are sorry, no room here. So now, although you're eating all these fruits, thinking you're getting vitamin C, you're not. You're actually becoming deficient in vitamin C because you're not eating enough vitamin C to compensate for the fact that you cannot put it into the cells. So if you eat vegetables, you probably need somewhere between 1 and 3,000 milligrams a day of vitamin C. And if you have that with your food, it won't be absorbed. You need to eat it between meals. So you need to have the vitamin C between meals when a few hours after you've eaten it, because the sugar has already been driven into the cells, and if you're lucky, it's been consumed, and now you've got a bit of room for the vitamin C to get in. If you're a carnivore, if all you eat is meat, there is vitamin C in the meat. It's very little, but it's sufficient. And that vitamin C will go straight into the cells, and it will get used to strengthen your bones. Because contrary to popular opinion, a strong bone is requires what's it called? It's what ligaments are made out of, what the nails are made out of. There's a word for it. I can't.
Yeah.
I'll write it down. Collagen. It needs collagen, and the collagen is part of the infrastructure. Our bones are created and bonded with the collagen. The tissues, the fascia that connects to the bones is also made with collagen. The muscles, each cell, they're all surrounded in collagen. You know, collagen is an essential ingredient for human beings, and that requires vitamin C. So when people get all these bones that break, they put it down to hormones. Oh, you're getting all your hormones. No, it's not that. It's the fact that you don't have enough vitamin C in your body, and your collagen is breaking down in your bones. So your bones are getting weak. Um, so you need to know about vitamin C. I mean, if you want to change your diet, you need to be aware that even if you suddenly become meatarian, carnivore, you still need to have vitamin C. Maybe for a year, for 2 years, but you need to keep it up, at least to 1,000 milligrams. Gradually, you release that to 500 milligrams. And even vitamin C contains oxalic acid. So when you take vitamin C, you're still ingesting oxalic acid, which in a way is a good idea, because if you're making a switch from vegetables to carnivore, you need to keep taking some vitamin, some oxalic acid. You need to keep saying to your body, look, there's still oxalic acid coming in. Don't just dump what oxalic acid there is in my body. So it's a process of gradual cutting down. So one needs to understand these things.
Mm.
And it's and then well, what minerals do I need? The chances are that you probably need to have something like a citrate, like calcium citrate or magnesium citrate, just to help mop up any of the oxalic acid in the body as it's been released. You need to give it something to hang on to. So and it depends how young you are.
Yeah.
If you're a young person, 25, 30, you suddenly go carnivore, the chances of you having large deposits of the wrong things inside you is fairly slim. Not impossible, but it's fairly slim. So you can make that transition far quicker and easier than if you are 60 years old, like I was when I made the transition. So there's a lot to bear in mind. So it has to be done intelligently, because we are sick people. And if we want to be healthy, we need to be aware we cannot just make a change just like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Without even knowing it. that we're sick, that we're making ourselves sick by the way we treat our bodies and ourselves, and thinking that we are doing a great job.
Well, we do
Hmm?
because of belief systems, because we've been what's the word infected, because we've been infected with belief systems as to how we should eat, as to what we should have. I mean, we see it
I,
all the time now. Even governments do that.
yeah, that okay, and also health organizations. It's not only our belief system; it's what
Yeah,
will be programmed to do and to be, and people get trapped in kind of things which are not the truth by far. But we think we are doing something great for ourselves, which we are not, because we are getting presented that kind of living. So
absolutely. In the 1970s, they suddenly came up with the idea that eating fat was bad for our hearts.
yeah,
There was absolutely no proof for that.
yeah,
There was no proof for that. And very quickly, the people who had factories and whatnot, they say, well, we're creating these seed oils. Well, this is obviously what's good for you, because if that's bad for you, then this is what you have to eat. Or sugar, you have to eat sugar. And they skewered any results. They paid scientists to say what they wanted them to say. So
yeah,
they indoctrinated, basically, they infected us with this new belief system that, you know, eating saturated fat is bad for you. And
mm,
since then, we've never had so many heart attacks. We've never been as sick as since we started to eat seed oils and giving up the fat. The
mm,
human body needs saturated fat. If you start eating saturated fat, if let's say you were a young woman um, and highly fertile, you would find that after about 3, 6 months, something like that, your periods would stop because we need saturated fat to create the hormones, which in turn generates estrogen, estrogen, whatever, all the other hormones that we need to maintain a healthy body. We are machines, and the machine, you got a car. I mean, I don't care how much love you put into that car, it ain't gonna run if you don't put any oil in the car. Okay, you are a physical machine, and you need certain ingredients, whether it's oil or whether it's petrol or diesel, but you need certain items, and you need a battery that's working. Nowadays they've changed it to electricity, but even today, that car will not run if there's no electricity.
yeah,
You need to add the electricity. Yeah. We are machines.
mm,
Uh, People want to be more than machines. Get over it. It's not going to happen. From dust you came, and to dust you will go. We will go. To dust we will go. So, nobody escapes being a human being. You can escape with your mind. They call that Lululand. But for the rest of us
mm,
who have our feet firmly planted on the ground, our bodies have certain needs, whether they are physical, emotional, mental, we have needs. And right now we're focused on food. And I will do an update when I do this experiment as to, well, if I put my love into my steak or my water before I drink it, will it make any? Going to ask Charlie.
yeah. But the water is proven by Dr. Emoto, by this
Hold
picture
on, hold
series.
on, hold on a minute, hold on a minute. Pause. Let me just ask Charlie.
Okay.
Okay. So if I put my love into a glass of water, will that make any difference to me? No. Will that make any difference to Astrid? It will. So is there a level up to which it will make a difference? So what's the breakup point? Up to what point does it make a difference? Up to 50, 60, 70? Is that a rough, that's a clear, is that a clear delineation? Okay. So up to level 70, if you put love into your water, into your meat, into your fat, into your egg, into your fish, into your bird, whatever, even into your vegetable, I will ask on that one, then that will give you something. It will add something internally. Not quite sure what, but it will do something for you. Once you're above level 70, it makes no difference
That's a turning point in your energy frequency.
because the energy is already more than high enough.
Yeah.
So up to level 70 is a good idea. So why is it a good idea? Why? So if I pour, I'm Astrid. So if I pour love into my glass of water or meat, vegetables, no. Okay, is that because they're poisonous? Right. Okay. So here's an interesting twist. Here's an interesting twist. Because a vegetable per se is poisonous, to pour your love into something that's poisonous to help you is a contradiction in terms. The fact that you are unaware of that doesn't change it. Okay, it doesn't change the dynamic. If something's poisonous, is poisonous, and pouring love into it doesn't make it any more appetizing. Still poisonous. However, if we stay with what you and I defined, okay, we both define as being good for the body, meat and fat, apart from nutrients, yeah. So as I'm Astrid, I pour love into the meat, pour love into my glass of water, and then I eat that. It helps me. How? Does it raise my vibration? No. Does it add something to the work? It adds something to the working of my system. So it does add something. It's not spiritual mumbo jumbo dimension, okay? It's something practical. Practical as in, third dimension, human body, here we are, right? Let's not get up there with space cadets.
Woo-woo.
So it does give you something practical. And this is so the meat goes into my stomach. So that's that quality, that energy, that vibration. It goes down with the amino acids and with the fat. It goes into my small intestine and it will permeate through into the blood or the lymphatic system. And from there it will proceed with the blood. So that stays there. So that's in every, so that is in every atom. That's in every atom of that substance that's been ingested. And then it goes into the blood and that will infuse the cells and that will collect in muscles, in the organs, in the glands, even the brain. And how does that help? So it helps with the electrical circuitry. The human body is an electrical machine. It will help with the flow of electricity in the human body. The average human being is in a state of conflict because they eat poisonous foods which rob them of electrons. Poisonous foods contain negative protons. They rob the body of electrons. We use the electrons for every function of the body, and in some way, it facilitates that exchange. You could say that it greases the movement of whatever's going on inside the body. And the average person fights that because their negativity, suppressed though it may be, interferes with that process in the nervous system, which in turn then affects the organs, the glands, the brain. So that's what it's about. There you go.
Mhm.
That's my take on it, Charlie's take. It is a very useful thing to do, and I hope to prove that with the rise through like I say, I partially proved it, but I'm not certain. I hope to prove this with the second batch, which I will then put it as a short video.
Mhm.
Um, that our energy can affect it, and Charlie wants to share that it is important to put your hands on the food, not to touch it per se, but just, you know, that's my glass. You can see it there. That's my glass. So my hands are around it like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
I, ju-
Yeah.
so I just focus on that. The Chinese believe that this acupuncture point, pericardium 8, has a direct connection to the heart and healing. And I've always worked with it. If I do this with my hands, I can feel
Yeah.
like a bubble of pressure between
Yeah.
my hands. Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyone can feel that. If they practice that a little bit, they'll become sensitive to that pressure. And that is
Yeah.
like our energy field. So if you put that around your food for 30 seconds, your water, this is more powerful than prayer. Is that true? Is that true? Yes. So um, just put your hands around the food and focus that sort of lovingness towards appreciation, really appreciation. That's all you need.
Mhm.
That connects with your heart. And that will make, if you do that regular, it has to be a daily practice. If you do that with every meal, everything you eat, it will. Ooh, is that true? It will actually expedite your growth. So if you talk about raising your vibrational level, this is one way to do it. You still have to experience all your negative emotions and work your way through that, but you will do it so much quicker. Ooh, I've just learned something. That's it, really important and interesting.
Yeah.
Uh,
I remember sharing something, but it's very in the beginning. I met you. I remember sharing something with you about that, but that was more kind of an affirmation. And then you mentioned, why are you doing all that kind of uh, work to even the, but it's really does make sense. It seems
yeah,
only not
and
in an uh, it's just the energy that makes sense.
yeah, I
Yeah.
used to believe what I used to practice was to always taste the first morsel that went into my mouth, just to be aware that whenever I ate something, just that first taste. And I would consider that enough to maintain my levels of self-awareness and presence. Um, but it
Hmm.
wasn't enough. It seemed like enough at the time. But
Yeah.
this thing of doing the appreciation of the food with your hands and the focusing on it, becoming one with the food or the drink,
Yeah.
just for 30 seconds. and doing that regularly, that of itself will make a huge difference. Am I exaggerating? Am I exaggerating? Am I exaggerating there? No, it will make a huge difference to your personal growth. You'll grow further by doing that than by trying to breathe and abstaining from food. Okay, so people out there, listen. You want to go and do a breatharian because you want to get in touch with the space cadets? Come to me. Eat meat. Put your hands. Focus your love, and that will rise your rocket faster. If you think of rocket fuel, that will move you up faster than just trying to, I'm going to be a breatharian. Okay. We need to keep
Okay.
it on the ground. We need to laugh at ourselves. We must not take ourselves seriously, okay? We mustn't take
Everyone
ourselves seriously.
everyone has his own process, I believe. Huh?
Ouch,
So
okay.
at some point they decide, oh, maybe I have to change my way of living. I don't know, whatever. But yeah,
Many are called and few are chosen. You can take a horse to water, but you can't force them to drink. There are many examples out there, okay, of the fact that human beings are fucked up and they cannot move beyond their indoctrination. So you're totally right. Everyone has their own process and their own time, but a change is coming, and the change will be soon. And so this is part of the jigsaw puzzle information so that people can really speed up their own process of integration, not of going AWOL, but to come here, to be themselves, to be in themselves, to be solid, to be ordinary, just to be an ordinary person who can laugh at themselves. I think we should probably leave it here. We've talked for 2 hours.
almost 2 hours. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, it was great talking about this subject with you, and yeah, I really appreciate. And I felt it was necessary for me to hear your perception and Charlie's perception about things. And yeah, it makes, yeah,
Yeah. So I'll just
continues.
say that, for people who don't want to eat meat for whatever reason, I'm not saying you have to. I'm saying question your assumptions as to why you want. Is it because someone else is telling you? Is it because you're really sorry for the animal? And that's a perfectly legitimate reason. If you're really sorry for the animal and you just can't bear it, then don't. But bear in mind that sugar is poisonous to the body, that vegetables in different degrees are poisonous to the body. So what you then do is you make sure you eat vegetables which are the least poisonous. And you have to at least, the very least, have some eggs. And you may need to supplement with vitamin B12, vitamin D3 plus K2. There's certain things that you will need to supplement. If you honestly cannot bear it, and I appreciate that, not everyone can, then this is the only alternative. Like, you need to love yourself. That means you need to be healthy. You need to be healthy in yourself. And to be healthy, you really ideally need to eat meat. But you really can't bear it, then do the next best thing. Don't eat the bad vegetables, the ones which are heavy in oxalic acid, the ones which are heavy in lectins. Stick to the ones which are light in lectins, light in oxalic acid, and they don't have much sugar in them. Stay away from bread. Bread is 100% no-no. It didn't do the Egyptians any good, and it won't be doing you any good. And you can have a bit of rice, white rice, not brown rice. Why not brown rice? Because brown rice has got um, lectins and it has roughage. Keep away from roughage as much as you can. Minimize your roughage. Minimize it. Forget what people say, you have to have a lot of roughage. But you still have a problem. You need to have fat. And if you have seed oil fat, that's damaging to you. See, we need animal fat. Can you cope with butter? Maybe not. Go for clarified butter. You're not killing the animal by eating butter, are you? Some of these cows, they really want to be milked because they've been bred for that. You can't change that. It's already there. And they create gallons every day, and they themselves walk in, please milk me. They're desperate because the pressure is so bad. And that's not right per se, but they're there, they exist, and the milk is there. So you need some fat. So butter, clarified butter. Goose animal, I don't know if goose fat is the same. Okay, I don't know. But at least I would say I would go for butter, clarified butter, if you cannot cope with ordinary butter. But you've got to have these things, because if you're listening to me, I've been droning on. I mean, Astrid hardly gets a word in edgeways. I've been droning on for nearly 2 hours. So if you're still here listening, that means you've got an interest in being healthier, being better, connecting with something greater than yourself. Well, to get there, you need a healthy body. Whatever other people say, without a healthy body, without all the neurons and all the nervous system firing the way they're supposed to, you're going to be deluding yourself. You'll be in fantasy land. Enough. All right. Thank you for listening. If you stayed this long. Thank you, Astrid. And we'll speak soon. Bye for now.
Okay. Bye.
And
Bye, everyone.
stream.
Bye.
So, okay. So